First, though, we're going to Waterford, where the old part of the city is being rejuvenated as part of a unique partnership between local people, city leaders and tourism chiefs. Next week, the Bishop's Palace will reopen as a museum in what is now known as the Viking Quarter. Damien Tiernan has the story.
1,000 years of fascinating history set within 1,000 paces. That's what's developing in Waterford city centre, and it's going to be superb. This week builders were in overdrive to try to have the rejuvenation of the famous Church of Ireland Bishop's Palace completed in time for the official opening by Minister Leo Varadkar next Wednesday. The €3 million investment is coming mainly from Fáilte, Ireland. The palace is being dedicated to revealing the story of Waterford from 1700 to 1970 and will contain many items of national and international significance. Waterford boasts the finest collection of 18th century architecture of any city in the country outside of Dublin. And from the top of the new Waterford Crystal Centre across the elegant Mall, you can see the outline of the Viking Triangle, with iconic Reginald's Tower at its riverside apex. The triangle was also captured many years ago in painting.
You're looking at the core area, historical area of that city, which we call the Viking Triangle. We have 6 national monuments, starting below at the most obvious, I suppose, one, Reginald's Tower, coming around to the Franciscan Friary. We have a medieval undercroft, we have Christchurch Cathedral, we have the Bishop's Palace, and then we have City Hall and the Theatre Royal.
Eamon McEnany is Waterford's Director of Museums. Like Michael Walsh, he's one of the people driving this fabulous redevelopment of Waterford city centre.
What we're doing is we're restoring the palace. We're just completing it now, restoring the palace to what it would have looked like in the 1740s. And we're furnishing the piano nobile, the grand floor, the first floor of it, in the style of an 18th century palace. And what we're going to do in doing that, we're going to show the treasures of 18th century Waterford in a setting that would be like a palace in the 18th century. And we're looking at the contribution of the various groups. For example, in one room we look at the contribution of the Roman Catholics to the development of the city in the 18th century, and then in the grand drawing room we're going to look at the contribution of the Church of Ireland, and then in the dining room we're going to look at the contribution of the Quakers, of course. And immediately across the road, what's wonderful about it is the Quakers developed the first glass factory in Waterford, and of course immediately across the road from the palace is Waterford Crystal, the House of Waterford Crystal.
The Museum of Treasures, currently located in the granary, is in the process of relocating into 3 new and exciting places: the Bishop's Palace, Reginald's Tower and the purpose-built Choristers' Hall. The award-winning museum, here since 1999, will be taken over by WIT's School of Architecture from September. Many local people are donating paintings and other items to the new museums. Anne Cusick is giving a painting of Thomas Wise, whose famous Anglo-Norman family came to Waterford 400 years ago.
The picture that we have actually is of a man called Thomas Wise. He's called Gentle Thomas, and he would be the father of Thomas Wise, who was Sir Thomas, who married Letitia Bonaparte, Napoleon's niece. So, you know, it's quite fascinating, really. And then I think they just maybe went into decline over the years. But they would have been contemporaries of Thomas Francis Marr's father and Thomas Francis Marr himself, you know, who was the founder of the Fighting 69.
Desmond Miller's grandfather was the Church of Ireland Bishop of Waterford in 1919. Desmond is loaning the beautiful Bishop's ring to the new museum. His grandfather was central in securing rights for the Protestant minority.
Obviously there was concerns about the Protestant minority in the 26 counties, and the Synod of the Church of Ireland in May 1922 put together a deputation, of which my grandfather was one. And he and the Archbishop of Dublin and Sir William Goulding went to meet with Michael Collins and Cosgrave. And they got assurances that the Protestant minority would be fairly treated.
The gardens around the Bishop's Palace are also being redeveloped. Well-known garden designer Dermot Gavin advised the City Council in the early stages, and as can be seen here over the past 6 months, the gardens are being transformed and will marry perfectly with the sophistication of the nearby buildings.
We're also trying to generate the public realm in such a way that both the local population and the visitor alike will engage with this area and this space. The gardens are very much part of that. What we really want is to create a vibrant area where people will come, relax, sit down, enjoy, and really take on board the many amenities that are available in the area, which we intend to even develop further.
Really what the City Council is trying to do is they're trying to basically put a new heart back into the old centre of Waterford. This is the historic centre of Waterford. This is where the Vikings moored their ships, right up against that wall in front, you know, of the palace.
Very finally, something that I hadn't known. The Bishop's Palace is actually back to front, if you want to put it like that.
That's correct. The palace is back to front. The Mall, which is what we all see it as, was originally the private garden of the bishop. Of course, the bishops he was an Anglican bishop or Church of Ireland bishop, so therefore he would have had children and a family and a wife, and they all lived there, and they had a very tall wall in there. And I remember that as a child, right up until the 70s, big wall facing what's now Waterford Crystal, and that's obviously been removed, and it's making it open to the public. And then the proper front door is really on the cathedral side. What's interesting is, though, that when we were doing the works on the palace, we removed a stone. A digger removed a stone from one of the floors. We were trying to level the floors. It was a little mini digger, and he moved a stone. And when we looked down, there's a huge void, and we sent down a camera, and in here was a 14th century wine cellar, still underneath the palace, and it's still there. It's absolutely perfectly intact.
So next Wednesday will be an historic day for historical Waterford, and a great step forward for Ireland's oldest city.
The Viking Quarter in Waterford now a focal point for visitors to the city.